Welcome to Mercy's Designs. My name is Mercy and I demonstrate Stampin' Up! Products. Today I'm going to bring you a tutorial on how to make this beautiful sampler. So I brought in several stamp sets. I brought in primarily the Celebrate Sunflowers, Jar of Flowers, and then I brought in a lot of different dies. This is from Sweet Silhouettes, and these are the Adventure Inspire. The leaves are from the Gathered Leaves dies right here. And Stitch So Sweetly is a label here. This is Well Written, which is from Love. Tasteful Labels, and that would be this label. And Forever Flourishing dies, which would be some of these greenery type things. So you can mix and match, but this is just to inspire you, and hopefully you'll give one of these samplers a try. I think they're a lot of fun. I did stamp ahead of time most of the items, so you won't see a lot of stamping, mostly coloring and how to assemble this, and a few tips along the way. So I hope you enjoy. We will be starting in a clockwise fashion. So I will start with this block here, or rectangle, I should say. So I have it already in a bag ready to go. Okay, I'm gonna just put this over to the side so it's out of the way, and we're going to zoom in a little. Okay, so I've gone ahead and sponged this white paper, and this is embossed using the Tasteful Textiles, I believe it's called, embossing folder, and it's really pretty, and I like the interest it creates and texture. So what else you're going to need is stamped twice would be these two smaller sunflowers, and a label and a leaf. Now, I was going to explain a little bit about these leaves. So I have gone ahead and what I did here is I first blended the Bumblebee, Poppy Parade, and a little bit of the green, which is Just Jade. And then I also have an adhesive sheet on the back, so hopefully that won't be too hard to remove. And then after I embossed it, or die cut and embossed with the leaf, those leaves, I went ahead and sponged it again, and I added a little bit of cinnamon cider just to give it a more rustic look. So I think they're really pretty and add a lot. So, but right now we're going to go ahead and concentrate on coloring these. So I will set this aside for the time being. And I like to sit when I color. Most of the time I prefer to stand, but when I am coloring, I do sit. So I'm just getting my chair here. Sorry if there's a little bit of rocking, to start coloring. So the one flower, I'm not going to do very much with different blending colors. So I will start with that, but the other one I will bring in some Mango Melody. This is Poppy Parade, by the way. And for the center, I'm going to bring in my cinnamon cider. So sit back and I will speed this part up, and you can watch a little bit on how I color. And by the way, I usually start off with my darkest color, but sometimes I go back and forth. All right, so this is the finished product, so to speak, of coloring. I think they're really beautiful. So the next part is just doing a dry layout and adhering to our mat. So I'm gonna go ahead, bring in the mat. And what I suggest, as I said, was to do a dry layout. So the first thing I'm gonna wanna do is to get this on dimensionals. So one thing you have to kind of be careful, because this one's tucked in. This is kind of tricky. This is why you do a dry layout, okay? Because you don't have that flexibility otherwise, you know, if you make a mistake. Now I realize that I am going to need my 2 little leaves, which I have in the bag here. Unfortunately, they're not colored. So I'm gonna quickly pause this video and come back as soon as I color them, because it's basically the same coloring as here. You don't need to watch that. Okay, so I'm ready to continue and keep building. So this has an adhesive back on it, as I mentioned. So sometimes it can be a little tricky to get it started, as you can see. And of course on video, it's even harder. Okay, so be sure to remember, adhesive backing really does help with this, and it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to assemble. So I'm just gonna go ahead and detach this here, and I'm going to add a few dimensionals here. Now, one of the other benefits of having the adhesive backing is that it will make the texture a little deeper when you use the die that are for die cutting and embossing. So I just wanted to mention that actually is a substantial, you know, plus. Now I didn't put anything here because we're going to have a little bit of the flower underlapping. So what I'm going to do is just position it like so, and then we're going to keep building. So what I want here is this to have kind of a nice continuity, and I will go ahead and pop this one up. So again, it's optional to pop it up, but I think it adds a lot, so you know, why not, right? And this is a home decor item, so you know, maybe a little more effort than a card that, you know, you want to put more effort maybe than some, I don't know. Although I like putting a lot of effort into my cards as well. Okay, so I like that placement pretty well. You can have it go off a little bit, but I wouldn't go too much off the label. So it kind of looks like it's all attached. Now the next thing is to pop this one up, and if you haven't tried this, I would suggest do double dimensionals. Stack them, especially this is going to be a 3D item. It's going to go in a 3D frame, so I am not afraid to go a little bit more higher than I normally would. So, you know, just something to think about. So I'm going to only do 2 on this one, just so it looks like it's at a slightly different level. All right, so I'm going to position this. I think that looks pretty good. I want these kind of, actually, okay. I want them to overlap a little. Now, all that's left is to attach these. So what I will do initially is go ahead and attach them together. Now, I got a little bit too much glue. So if that ever happens to you, and I don't want to forget to put that love in that I have, just dab it on some cardstock, and then you can, you know, easily take care of that problem. A scrap. Okay, you can scrape some off. Okay, so now these are together, and I like that, having them together. This is a new glue bottle, so it's coming out generously. All right, so I'm just going to tuck these in, and I think, ooh, so that's another thing you have to watch. Sometimes this embossed paper it doesn't adhere super well. Okay, so with all that's left is our love. All we need is love, right? Okay, so for some reason the adhesive backing comes off easier on this. I don't know why. Maybe it's the foil. It just like comes off much easier than these leaves that really sticks. Maybe it's also because I did a little work. Now I know it has adhesive backing on this, but I like to go ahead and dab a little bit of glue, even so, just to make sure that nothing comes loose once this is hanging, since it is a 3D item. So I love this foil. This is the brass, and the brass is brighter and shinier than the gold, and it's slightly darker color, so it's really great for a fall look. All right, so I'm gonna pause and restart for my next section, which is the jars, the jar with the bouquet. All right, so this is the section number 2, and what we want to do here is this will be vertical. I have it in a bag, and I've stamped and punched this out. There is a punch for this jar, so I'm going to just set that, you know, for the time being here. I did get started on coloring. I used the darker shades here, and I'm going to continue the coloring, and you can watch that. But it's the same color scheme throughout. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so I ran out of battery a little bit there. So, but I just finished coloring. I used the cinnamon cider in the centers here and rich razzleberry and so forth. So I think it turns out really beautiful. So what's left is to go ahead and attach it to your jar. So this isn't too difficult, but you will want to use glue only on the bottom part, obviously. So I'm just going to do a little thin bead here. And then I'm just going to lay it down and, you know, have it so I think it looks straight. Another thing you might want to do is bring in your layer just to make sure that, you know, it looks like it's centered, which I think it does look pretty good. I just want a little bit more of that jar showing if possible. Okay, perfect. All right, so what I like to do is to only pop up the flowers. I think it adds more like an interesting dimension. So the other thing, before we take these backings off, we want to go ahead and wrap this. Now, if you have some snail, this makes the job a lot easier. So what you do is add a good amount of snail right here, and you get out your linen thread. Now, if you don't have linen thread, you're really missing out, because it adds a very nice little touch without being overbearing. So I like to have it kind of a messy, crisscrossy look. And you can do it, you know, like however many times you like. I think that's probably plenty now. So because I have that adhesive on the back, it is now already basically complete. If you feel like it's still possible it'll come loose, you can use a little tear and tape or even Scotch tape on it just to make sure it doesn't come loose. So I've used tear and tape here, and now I'm going to take off my dimensional backings. and we will start this process. So what I wanted with this one is to have the Inspire below, mostly because it looked better aesthetically once the card with the where the die cut words are positioned. I didn't want them all bunched together, so that's why I chose to have it below, and I think it works and it looks good. But if that bothers you, obviously you can modify. I have no problem with that. So when you die cut this out, I kept all the little the eyes, the dots for the eyes, but they're a bit of a pain and they are super, super tiny. I kept some in here. Here, I'll just show that real quick. You can see they're very tiny. And in some cases I put it in the bag loose when I put together my kits. Okay, so what you want to do here, my upline and I are offering this sampler to our customers, so it's been interesting doing all the die cutting, etc. for it. It's been fun though. It does take some time. All right, so just remember that glue is not a friend of foil, so be really, careful not to do that too much. And I just want to make sure this is centered. I'm going off more what my original, I think. Yeah, it could have been over a little bit more. So basically at the start of your thing, yeah, this, let's see if I can slide her. Ooh, too much. Okay, so again, I added a little bit of glue. So that looks really cool. Again, you can use your little gold eyes, or this is a popular trick. Get out a embellishment, and you'll want to use fairly small ones. Okay, let's see, what do I want here? Here, this one's cooperating. So it dots your eye, and I think that the pearl, I like that look. It looks very, to me it looks vintagey, which is kind of a shabby chic look. It's kind of what I like. All right, so that is block number 2 complete. Now we will move on to the big one, which is the big square. And I am just gonna jump right into that. So I've gone ahead and adhered the background, and this is embossed and sponged once again. So we have these different layers, but the first thing we're going to want to do is color this. Now, this is your primary image, so I would encourage you to take your time in coloring it. I will show how I colored it, but I won't show all of it because it does get a little bit long. But again, it's the same color schemes. I'm going to be using Mango Melody, the Poppy Parade, the Cinnamon Cider for the center, and I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, I don't think so actually. It makes it look orange when you combine the red and the yellow. All right, so I'm gonna get started on that, and you can sit back and watch that. here we have the completed feature. I think it's just gorgeous. You can see I really went to town. I wasn't super careful, but I love the great contrast it creates. So what I'm going to do right now is, this is a foil center, the brass, and it does have an adhesive backing. And I'm just going to place this kind of the way they show it here, largely. And I think that just adds a real nice sparkle to it and ties in the whole project. Okay, so now we're gonna do a dry layout. And, but before we get started on that, I still have leaves to color, the green ones. So I will quickly do the leaves and then I'll come right back and we will continue assembling. Okay, so I'm back, and what we want to do here is to create a dry layout. Now I like these curled leaves more down here. So I will just start laying out where I want things. I want the adventure up here, so I need to allow enough room, and this just pops out like so. And once again, it has adhesive backing. So I have to allow enough room for everything that I want. So that's easier said than done sometimes, but I think it'll look just gorgeous and I'm not too concerned. So I just have fun with it. So I want this one to be a little bit further over. So all the way over there. And I, with my original one, I had only one of these leaves and this outline. But this time I thought maybe we could do all three. So we'll see how that goes, if we like that. All right, so now I think that this works. So I am going to put a little tick mark. So what you want is a pencil or something, and mark that this is a good placement for my belt. I like to call it a belt. And I'm just gonna slide this to the sides a little bit. I'll back up a little so that I have it basically in position. Quickly get some adhesive. And if for some reason your belt is a little, yeah, you do want to use enough glue for this part because again, this paper is embossed. So I'm looking at my tick mark and I'm going to try to cover it a little bit just because. And now I can see this is definitely not straight. Just because it's sort of one less thing I have to do. I don't have to worry about it. So if your belt is a little big, you can use your paper as your guide and get it pretty straight. Straight enough for me anyhow. So that's a nice little trick I've learned over the years, You can make sure, use it like a miter cut. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, you can do this whatever order you want, but I think I'm going to go ahead and add this adventure first because I know it's going to be in the top left, right side. So I'm just taking this off, and once again, I'm going to bring in my adhesive that is fine tipped and add a few, that didn't go so well. A few spots here and there, not a lot because it does have that adhesive backing. So I'm not too worried. See, I got a little bit on there and that's not very good, but whatever, stuff happens, right? All right, so I am going to just position it the way I want. Sometimes if you just push straight down, you can get it to start. Okay, so these are bendable, which sometimes it's really cool to have it kind of in a circle, the word dies. So just keep that in mind that, it's not going to go on perfectly straight. But that's why also I like using a little bit of that liquid glue just to make sure it doesn't move around after the fact. And now it's setting. And I think though it looks pretty good. Another thing you can do is take one of your acrylic blocks and push down on it just to make sure you have a good seal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take off the dimensional backings. I put this on when I was off camera because I don't think you need to see me adding dimensionals. And I, again, going to use these little doodads like so. So I think they are just fabulous. And I'm going to go ahead and add it about there. I don't want to overlap my, okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to have my leaf up here. So I started this one so you don't have to see me struggle, but turns out you're still going to see me struggle because it went right back down. Ooh. All right, focus, concentrate. You can do this, right? That's part of the Bop It game, which, by the way, I set the record in our family. I think I got to like 100, and then it shut me off and said that you've made a new record, which was really disappointing. And then after that, I was over it. That was a number of years ago. But I don't know what made me think of that. Okay, so I'm going to add a few of the the dimensionals, and then it looks like it's coming up and out of there. So I think that looks kind of cool. All right, we'll keep building. Now this, I don't even know what this is called. I guess they're seed heads, but it is from the Flourishing Phrases. And once again, I struggle. And it's just really I think it looks really cool. But as you can see, it doesn't want to come off very easily, the adhesive backing. The adhesive backing is nice though, but sometimes it can be a bit of a pain. Sort of a double-edged sword. You have to get that backing off. But you have glue adhesive everywhere. It becomes a sticker. So once again, I'm going to bring in a few dots here and there just to make sure this doesn't come loose, because it will be hanging and I'm extra, paranoid about that. So I'm just going to slip this under, and I think that looks really good. The first one I felt like I didn't have it far enough out, but this one looks great. I had it like too far out, I'm sorry. Which is why I suggest this order, that you put your venture first and then your flower and then start building. Okay, speaking of building, let's get these puppies together. We got a couple of these here, and I'm just going to go ahead and marry them together. That's what my friend Susan Lavesta says about the leaves and stuff. We're going to marry them together. I guess that works. It does describe what we're doing. All right, so here I am going to just put them like that, and then we have this outline leaf, which I don't think it goes on here. Well, let's see. Actually, it does. You could do it, or you could do it like that. Well, actually, maybe this time I will just do it as intended. It does fit on that. That's funny. I didn't realize that. Learn something new, right? The only thing I will probably do is fill in the green right there, I mean, with the blend, but I'll do that off camera. You don't need to see that, just so it looks a little more conducive to. Okay, so we are once again back with these leaves. So what I'm thinking is I will pop this one up, even though it has the adhesive backing. It's still, you can still just ignore that. But one of the main reasons, again, that I use the adhesive backing is I think it embosses the leaf better with that dye. I think it looks pretty cool that way. But obviously it's not completely necessary. It's a solid enough image. All right, so you notice I put this one very lightly down, and that was intentional because, we want to be able to manipulate and decide where we like something. So I think that looks pretty darn good. So we're gonna go ahead and commit. All right, so that is this square, and that is what I would consider the focal image of this whole, layout. So if you feel like this has too much white space, you can sponge the edges, and that is super quick, super fun. I have Bumblebee ink. You could use Daffodil Delight or something like that too. Another yellow. So I like to do this. It just takes away some of the whiteness. Obviously it does that, but it just, I think it adds a little more interest. Okay, so this is one of them that I did not put adhesive on. One of the few. Whoa, there goes my glue. All right, disaster averted. So what I'm gonna do here is add a little bit of glue to everything but the last one. Now I'm doing this a little bit out of order. I should have done this part first. Okay, I know I cut, these are mini dimensionals. So I cut them in half because you want a very, very small amount. Now, I think I actually, is that backing still on? Yes, it is. And it does not want to come off. Okay, I got it off. Whew. That was close. So I am going to use my little thingy here because that might make it a little easier. And go ahead and add that because of course. All right, so last but not least, this needs to be popped up. And again, that glue is drying, but you know, when you go out of order, there are consequences, but we'll get this real quick. And then we can just take these backings off. But I hope you give this a try. It is a lot of fun. It's not that difficult. This layout, I think it's just really pretty. So I'm just gonna center this and this, now my mind's drawing a blank what these are called. But it'll come to me after I get off the video. But this sort of feature here is right there. So I think that looks really cool and really pretty. And by the way, I masked off, or actually I just stamped only this part. It is actually, it says, let's celebrate you. So I only did let's celebrate because I wanted this particular size. And don't forget, you can do that, you know. You don't have to use the whole sentiment. You can pick and choose. All right, so let's get to assembling, and we can call this a, you know, completed project. Okay, finally, something we can be really excited about, which is the completion of the project. So I am doing this layout, which I got this idea from Nola Creations, Susan LaVesta, about doing this on a diamond. And I've done this one other time, and it's always just really beautiful. So the important part here is just, of course, to try to get it as straight as possible, which is a little trickier when you're doing this on camera. Not that I should make excuses for myself, but it just is. All right, I'm just trying to look at it squarely. I think it could go a little bit more this way, but it looks like it's set. All right, so that's that part. The next is you're going to put this down, and you could go ahead and add your pieces at this point, or you can just go ahead and add this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add this because I'm on a roll, and why not? This is the gray granite, by the way, and the previous one was the cinnamon cider, which is a fabulous fall color. This is a sampler is more of a fall theme, but it's also kind of a late summer, which I like that idea. Now, I came up with this idea of doing faux corners. And what I did is took 4.5 by 4.5, 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, squares and cut them diagonally. So what I suggest you do here is go ahead and do a dry layout right away. Now I could have done this before, but I kind of like how when you have this gray, just make sure you don't glue these corners down if you're doing it in this order, that you can see a little bit better where it's supposed to fit. So I am all about making it as simple as possible, and you can see this one should go a little bit further up. So you basically want to just try to make them, you know, same width. Okay, so as I said, I'm about being not exactly quick and dirty, but I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. I'm kind of guessing here, and it's not going to really matter if it's completely 100% every part glued down. Normally I do not do the gluing blind, but in this case I do, and I don't apologize for it. It's just going to make it so much easier, and like I'm not redoing something once I got this down. Okay, so just make sure something's coming out though when you're doing that. That's the only part. And if I was doing this without the camera, I would be able to peek under too that I was getting glue. But I'm just assuming I did. And you can see it looks like a complete mat, and it's completely fake. All right, so this is the fun part. This is the ta-da moment when you get all the pieces together, which is so much fun. Just do a quick layout here. And because I have all the pieces cut appropriately, this part is super easy. Now, I am going to go ahead and adhere the biggest feature first. It doesn't particularly matter which order, but I like doing it that way. So, and then I'm gonna look at this to make sure I get the right amount of border. So if by any chance that I didn't allow enough room or allowed too much, I would compromise in the center. And now just stick with the amount of border you did here. That is set. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add this one now. And we have almost got this complete. I just love this project, and I will put it in my 3D frame and display it in my eating area in my house, and it will just bring some joy to my life. And I love these colors. These are mostly the in colors. I will list in the description everything I put in here into it and dimensions, etc. But it comes together like a puzzle, as you can see. It's just gorgeous. So here we go, the final piece. And I thank you so much for watching. Please comment below if you like this video. If you have any questions, email me at mewants3@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to get back with you. If you have any stamping needs, please email me at that address, and I can provide you with a host code to order from me any Stampin' Up! Products. So happy stamping, and thank you for watching my Fall Celebrate Sunflowers sampler. Happy stamping!